be kind of a rundown because I want to always make sure that while we expand and while we help more people, we're educating you guys as well so that when they come on evaluation calls, when they come on breakthrough calls, they are walking away with something important, information, and what to do. Okay. We show them how and how to implement it, but we're always making sure that we talk to them about what to do, what's going on. I want you guys to be able to just feel the energy and be like, I know your problem, right? Which you will. They come in very common symptoms. And basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you what I show them, but then we're going to break it down just a little bit more in depth. So let me pull this up. I'm going to share my screen with you. Let me know if you guys can see this. I'm going to share a couple of things. So let's do this. Let me pull up some tabs. Boom. Love it. All right. So basically, this is kind of the content structure. And then, excuse my bad writing. You guys can see that, right? We good? You guys can see that? All right, cool. Let me get rid of that. All right. So basically, this is the hidden structure behind what we're doing. If you actually turn this upside down, this is the layers that we go in, right? Where this is the bottom gold mine that we actually reach. This is the emotional healing process. This is the emotional shifting process. And up here is the emotional bonding process. So this is where the intimacy comes down, right? And this is basically the ladder that they have to climb. Okay. This is step by step. Let me get rid of a bunch of this stuff. This is the step by step process of everywhere where they have to go. Okay. Now, while you're going through this, whoops. Now, while you're going through this, most guys that come to us, they don't realize that at first, this comes naturally to us. Like when we're young, dumb, and we're full of gumption, as we'll say, right? It will be YouTube friendly. We'll post this up there. But as we're young, dumb, and we're full of it, and we believe that we're impenetrable, and we take on that genuine heroism within us, that hero is just embedded in the young man. Um, this all comes naturally. We don't even focus on this stuff, right? We're about being the best that we can be and the most that we can be. Now, life happens, kids happen, ambitions come and go, right? They can be crushing it at work because that's easy. We were all taught that, right? What has happened is over the past 100 years, there's been a shift in society and culture, right? Thousands of years, men have understand and known the rites, rites, and rituals that happen amongst other men. Women understood that and those rites and rituals amongst other women, and we understood the cohabitation and that beautiful synergy that would happen in between masculine and feminine. Okay. Along the way, though, stuff has changed, right? Because of the sexual revolution. I don't want to go too far in conspiracy theories. We can all chat on it, like we will all talk about that in the chats, like later, but in the Slack channels. But because of whatever, because of societal shifts and a two-income household, well, a lot of this stuff kind of tend to erode, whether it was on purpose or not, right? And that started to come out when in about the 50s and 60s male, right? That was the hard worker, I don't give a shit, piss and vinegar. We're going to show up to work 15 minutes early. We're going to go build something. Then about the 60s, 70s male was corner office. This is what success looks like. Secretary, business person, white collar, not blue collar work, show up 15 minutes before. Okay. Now, somewhere in the 80s, 70s, 80s, stuff kind of started to shift. And now women were involved in the workplace. But it's not just that. It's we became more aware of emotions. And we were aware of it a while ago. But we got too used to kind of a pattern, right? And then more women started to become involved in jobs, and there became the two income household. That's kind of where you see a lot of stuff start to go. So when men were literally, right, I'm going to go kick ass at work, I can go make money, I'm going to bring home the bacon. Well, now there started to become more societal pressures because That wasn't cutting it, right? Our women, because it's kind of very interesting. I don't want to go too in depth. Around the 70s, 80s, there became a mind expansion, right? Where just people got more education. People started to explore thought more, okay? And women started to fulfill these needs and these needs real easily. She started making more money. She was able to buy her own house, so on and so forth. Then, when it comes to safety needs, this is where you see, and I call this, and I got this from the Air Force, mind, body, and spirit safety, right? And there's a social aspect too, but we lump that in with the living and belonging, as you guys will see in a bit. So, as society started to shift, well, men kind of were like, what the hell is this? No one ever taught them about the emotional stuff. And that's one of the base pillars that builds up a relationship: mind, body, and spirit. That's what creates a being. This safety, and I'll show you, whoops, I'll show you in this over here, right? We'll kind of talk about this because this is really kind of explains it, and I love it. It's very simple, but it's awesome. But a lot of that just started to go, right? Men didn't know how to show up and be that safety aspect for women anymore because what we did for a while, well, we didn't know how to speak this emotional translation, this language of emotion, right? It's like literally one day, all of a sudden, instead of fixing things like our DNA had told us for thousands of years, well, now we had to add Japanese to our vocabulary and then translate it through German and speak Spanish and then put it right back to English all in one go. And for us men, it takes a lot of willpower at first till you build up the skill to think like that, right? I even fall into it as well, to where I'm like, that's an easy fix. I'm like, wait a minute, what is she really trying to tell me here? Because the thing about the feminine that most men don't understand is she's talking about the symptoms of an overall problem. And it's our job, right? Because we are the head of household. A lot of people don't realize we are one of the main variables to the equation. Because I have a controversial opinion. I really only tell private clients because people can see it. Goes like this, and I'll tell you guys, right? Governments are made up of societies. Societies are made up of communities. Communities are made up of families. Families come from a man and a woman. Okay. And at the base of it, holding it all up is a man. So when you destroy that, or he gets confused and doesn't know how to handle it, the rest fall, right? And you'll see that because we'll get amazing high ranking individuals in government, in the public sector, and CEOs, lawyers, doctors. They'll come to us and be like, I kicked ass over there. Now I have no fucking idea what I'm doing. Okay. And when that crumbles, they start losing their self actualization, then their self esteem, which is really the core root for men, where most of it starts to crumble. That's where the neediness comes from because they don't value themselves. That's where the controlling, the manipulation, the anger, which is the most poisonous of all, the anger really seeps into the relationship. And that's where all of those negative emotions come from. And when all that falls, all of this collapses as well. Okay. So that's just kind of a brief overview. Now, during this process, what we do, as you guys know, is we teach them extreme ownership. You cannot control what another person does. It's very interesting. You can lead a horse. Everybody knows the adage. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. But for some reason, we know that. But when it comes to our marriage, we want to get the horse by the back of the hair and just shove it in the pool and just be like, accept it, drink it, please, for me, please. That's where the begging, that's where the pleading comes from. And then that just makes things worse because what does that destroy? Safety. It's gone. Emotional, physical, spiritual safety, like destroyed. Okay. So a lot of these guys, and this is a hard pill to swallow. A lot of these guys focus only on this, especially when they first get the book. In the book, we're good about kind of Aikidooing it, right? Doing mental gymnastics to kind of show them, hey, this is even this. These two things are just what are called basic needs. You can actually hire people for these. She can get anybody, especially child labor, right, to go do chores, go to the dishes, be there, right? All that stuff. And then for reproduction, a lot of guys will be like, oh, but it's 2025. Sometimes it just takes some spit and an internet connection, right? Sometimes it takes a little battery operated, pluggable thing into the wall, and she's good. You know, sometimes it takes just a phone call. It's the sex for men is everything because that is what boosts up our status. We'll talk about women's core needs in a second. But the reason why I say esteem is everything for a man and that's the source of all the poison is because men's deep need is status, right? We go and get the cars, the money, we kick ass at work, even children, our family. Hey, look at what Bobby did. He can play soccer and he's amazing. He's a quarterback, he's a tight end, he hits like a truck. Look at what Sally Sue did. She's a ballerina, she plays piano, right? Look at my hot wife. Oh, she's so badass. She's so hot. Status symbol. Because what does that boost? Our esteem and how we value ourselves. Okay. And part of this process is empowering them through that. Because they have that hero within them. Every single man has that hero within them. I don't care what they've been through. I don't care how much mud, dirt, spit, blood, sweat, and tears has hidden that hero. It's all within them. They just need to know. There's a difference between believing it's there and knowing it's there. I tell the guys this all the time. You don't step outside and believe the sun is going to rise in the morning. You know the sun is going to rise in the morning. Okay. If you believed the sun is going to rise in the morning, there's like kind of this weird mysticism about it, right? It's like, oh shit, is it? Like, am I going to, is it out there? Like, but if you know, which we all do, you operate differently. You're like, all right, tomorrow I'm going to attack the day because the sun's going to wake up and I'm going to see it. If you have that weird wishy washiness, you in your solid foundation as a man, their wives are not going to feel safety. Okay. Because as esteem is the true deep need of a man, safety and security is the deepest need of a woman. But that true deep need is that love, which comes from safety and security. So when women say, I love you, but I'm not in love with you, what they're actually doing is they're saying, right, they look at that tree, they zoom in on the tree, you got to look at the forest, they zoom in on those symptoms when that's not the bigger problem, right? Take a step back. When they hear that phrase, they get dropped with the bombshell, okay, what actually they should be translating immediately, right? This is the emotional part that like no one teaches. All right, what is she really saying? This is being responsive, not reactive. Reactive is like, huh, freaking out right when that happens, an emotional event happens and they freak out. Responsive, I got it from the military. You take a step back, you breathe, you understand your situational awareness, like what the hell is really going on, right? And then you respond to that stimuli, that event. So the I love you, but I'm not in love with you really means that as things are, I don't have that safety and security, and I don't see how this can change in the future. Okay. Because that safety isn't there. She doesn't think that you can do it. She doesn't have enough of that space to breathe because that's where that neediness comes in and the begging, the pleading, right? And that's not good. That's more destructive and it destroys this. So, as part of the emotional healing process, is we teach men that this You shouldn't even be looking or focusing on that. We're going to focus on this and how to have proper conversations with your wife and to do what I call excavations to like find the core of the bleeding because it's usually just a couple core issues, right? And we do this through an acknowledgement or address the situation, so on and so forth, which is kind of similar to the book, but we just add deeper psychological elements to it because I have the guys usually explain their situation and I'll adjust. But through that conversation, through that genuine internal change to where she feels it, right? She sees something's different. The safety begins to be formed. Okay. This is that healing process. And first, they have to do this with themselves. So as we're climbing this and going up this ladder, or really down to the core, if you flip it upside down, I just can't do that. As they do this with themselves, they're learning a dance. They're learning a beautiful thing called the waltz, right? Where they can learn the moves, right? Learn how to step on their own. And then they invite their wife to be led by them. And she has to choose to allow that. Because it's not a real dance if he grabs her by the hand and drags her across the floor. It's not fun. It's forceful. We don't want that. That causes a lot of like indecisiveness and like second guessing and questioning. She needs to fully commit and choose. That's the biggest thing. Just like they have to choose to go down this path and know within them, well, our women, and this is another kicker, our women are our biggest reflection of our leadership skills. So if we've gone through this and it's gotten this point where they're two coming to us, all this is eroded. This is completely gone, right? And the biggest thing that men have to realize is that we build the house, women make it a home. Men build the houses, women make them a home. When I say that, everyone always misconstrues it. Like, I'm going to go out, build my kingdom, hurrah. Yes and no. What I really mean, and the deeper element to it, right? And this is a testament to these guys' power, to your guys' power, to just being a man, because it's not only a birthright, it's not only a uh, it's not only a birthright, it's not only a privilege, because being a man's cool. I'm biased. I love being a man. You know, women have their benefits, but I think being a man is pretty fucking dope, right? But it's a way of life because of those rites and rituals. So when I say men make a house, women make it a home, what I'm really saying is we make the environment for the feminine to come in and express herself. Because the feminine nature needs to express herself. That's where we create that safety and security. So she can express herself. Because resentment comes from both man and woman, people, bottling things up inside and letting it fester. Unfortunately, feelings aren't like a 2000s Twinkie, right? To where it can be out in the open air and it won't grow any mold. Our feelings, the way that we think, it festers and it rots. And that's why I call it bleeding, because it gets infected. Then it starts infecting the whole system. Because just like we have physical bodies, we have emotional bodies, we have spiritual bodies, and all of that gets rather effed hard when all this is not there. So we have a simple conversational protocol to understand and build up safety. But first, they have to have that safety and respect within themselves, because how can you ask anybody to respect you if you don't respect yourself, right? How can you ask anybody to have boundaries with you if you don't have boundaries with yourself? Then, when we have these conversations and we're now shifting into this process, okay, and this is the we'll do emotional shifting process, ESP, right? When we're going into this, we're really focusing on building a sense of connection, because the emotions, that whole fix it hunter mentality, no, no. I got this from Alan, by the way, uh, Drew. He taught me this with business, with everything, right? You have to be a farmer. You have to plant seeds. And right now, and you can put this in terms, it's really crazy how relationships and business go hand in hand. It's crazy. I think he also got it from Dan Kennedy, because I've heard some Dan Kennedy stuff where he talks about this. But um, as a farmer, you need to build up your skills to tend the crops, plant the seeds. But men, especially successful men, we're taught to go out and kill it, go hunt. But behind the hunter mentality is a feast and famine cycle, right? Feast and famine. So if these guys are operating in feast and famine cycles all the time in business and then they bring it to home, they don't have that emotional translation to realize, okay, wait, I need to be a farmer here. We need to tend some crops. We need to pull some weeds, right? You don't check the crop, you check the soil. When you're trying to grow a tree, you don't tug on the tree. You tend to the soil. You talk to the tree. You make sure it has the essentials, which is all this. And when women come with that emotional connection, or I, I'm cheating on you, I've been with another guy, blah, 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 blah. The other guy is not fulfilling any of these. Because any man who would get with a married woman, especially if she has kids, that's not a man. I don't care. I'll hold that hardcore stance. That's not a man. Okay. And a lot of those guys are just doing it because they know, oh, I can hump and dump and get out of here when the going gets tough. Okay. And so because she's not feeling these needs, she just might be feeling this sense of loving and belonging. That's it. Because remember, this is basic elementary stuff you should not be focusing on. The real core starts when you start getting into the shifting process, have that sense of connection. Because when she's coming to you with her feelings, she's showing you her true feminine self. And the masculine, even if it's lightning bolts, even if she shoots lightning bolts at you, which are like the jabs, all this, this, that, and the third, right, that she's trying to dig, well, you have to be that grounding energy. And that's why for couples who have been together for, God, it seems like hundreds of thousands of years, right? But they're together 50, 60, 70 plus years. If you ask them and you talk to them, what does the woman always say? He was my rock. He was that grounding energy, that lightning rod. Now, when she sends out little quips and things get jumbled up inside and we're like, ugh, we're fighting it, it's because our self esteem is down. We don't value ourselves. Our subconscious mind, even if at the top of our conscious mind is like, I don't believe that, you can't lie in your subconscious mind. Okay. Your subconscious mind knows, oh man, that's probably true. And then the cognitive dissonance happens and no, no, instead of being like, the feminine nature is emotional, emotions are transient. She'll hate you 1 second, love you the next, watch a sad baby video and start bawling her eyes out in zero point 0.4 seconds. Wife does that all the time, right? She'll be like, I saw the saddest reel. Did a baby get hurt? Yes. I'm like, okay, cool. You want to talk about it? So sad. Thank you for being there. That's what I'm here for. It's as simple as that. She just wants to tell you. She just wants to connect with you. She just wants that loving and belonging. But when your esteem is effed, or you're trying to practice to be a, high status male or anything like that, right? And you're just practicing and you're faking it till you make it. Well, that doesn't allow you to actually have that solid sense of secureness within yourself to let her experience what she's experiencing. Because if you do things out of control, if you do things out of, oh, my ego's kind of bruised, and then you kind of fight back, what does that serve? It doesn't really serve anybody. So during the emotional shifting process, we teach you how to do a deep sense of connection, right? To create that loving and belonging. So she has that emotional, not just the safety, but that same team mentality with you. And then we really focus on what I call building you up not only as a heroic husband, but as a Renaissance man, being a holistic man, right? That men for thousands of years have been through, right? You see this because, and this is one of those rites and rituals that have been lost, right? You've seen this throughout fraternal organizations. You've seen this throughout trades. Even when I was a network engineer, it's in their structure on how to, ascend up that ladder. Esteem comes from understanding your value, but also being so solid within yourself that you know that you're a whole being, a holistic person. So for instance, back in the day, and I learned this when I was pre-med, right? I don't know if you guys knew this. I was pre-med before I went into the military, and I wanted to be a holistic doctor of osteopathy, okay, and go into holistic medicine. I was actually doing research in biochemical labs in botany, right? Learning how plants talk to itself. We still don't know, but the lab that I was working with, we were pretty close on figuring it out. And they discovered now it's via protein signaling, but whatever. We're not going to go there. Anyways, one of my professors taught me this. I had no idea. And this goes into this philosophy of esteem. They said doctors, all tradesmen back in the day had a journeyman, had an apprentice, journeyman, and master structure. All fraternal organizations that have been around for thousands of years have this structure baked in there as well. Freemasons have it. The Knights of Columbus have it. Rotary Club has it. My grandfather was in Casa de España. They had it there. Fraternal organizations that have been around, this has been part of men being men for so long. And as part of that, while you ascend up the ladder, I'm going to talk about doctors, but you can put shoemaker, you could put blacksmith, whatever. Doctors weren't just specialized people. It's only since we've had these nowadays that we're just so specialized and so zoomed in, right? And that doesn't complete us as whole beings. That's why there's a lot of purposelessness. People don't have purpose. Men and doctors back in the day, they knew philosophy, they knew theology, they knew how to debate, they read literature. They didn't just focus on science, they focused on the whole picture. And as part of esteem, that's where that comes from. And that's where that biggest shift, internal shift comes from. That's going to get these men to get their wives to choose to come back, to genuinely create that genuine burning desire. Because, and Alan also taught me this, desire is created via lack, right? So when, um, when this is not here throughout this whole process, she's looking for it. And these men, too, especially if the men cheat, are looking for this outside of the relationship. Because if all these needs were met, if we were really whole beings, well, that desire wouldn't be there, right? We would find that within each other. So while you're going through this and you're reattracting your wife and you're building this up, and you start focusing on these three things, not these three, not these two, where everybody always wants to focus on, oh, I'm there, I'm showing up, I make the money. As we talked about earlier, who cares, right? But as they go through that and they go through that process, they're also creating desire because now these needs are being met. We have a way of showing this and demonstrating it and connecting and so on and so forth. And checkpoints along the way of like, okay, where do we plant seeds? Where do we cultivate the bond and everything? But then they start not only fulfilling themselves, but now self actualization is starting to be fulfilled as well. And this is where the emotional bonding comes in because that is the foundation that builds that love connection, this, that, and the third. Okay. So I want to just show you guys and wrap up with this real quick. And we can questions or anything like that. But so while we're going through this, okay, mouse. And I like this one because it kind of basically boils it down really quick. The reason why we start with the bottom, And we don't really focus on this because this is literally just base, super, super, super bottom of the barrel base, right? And we kind of focus on safety and security because safety and security comes from confidence that we can avoid pain. Your wife has to know that that hurt isn't going to repeat itself. When you do that, you go up the ladder. Then this is where that loving and belonging was, or the social aspect, right? We feel secure when we're part of a tribe, that same team mentality. Okay. Unworried about rejection and alienation. This is fucking crucial. Okay. Because throughout this point, most likely these guys have rejected, even if it's micro rejections, like, I don't want to deal with this, so on and so forth. And it's little sub communications. Communication, I think, what do they say? It's like 80%, 90% of all communication is dubbed subconsciously, like through the skin and mannerisms and stuff, right? So when you reject her or alienate her for how she feels, what she's trying to tell you, this is gone. This is all destroyed. And this is what, especially if there's cheating or especially saying, I don't love you anymore, it's because she feels rejection and alienated. And you have to go deeper and connect with her, right? Sense of connection is here. She wants to feel part of the tribe. Then, as we climb up, right, because we're doing this all with ourselves and with our wives as well, and we focus on self esteem, this is where the real magic happens. They're not only part of the group, and this is where we have that. So in the military, we call it one flight, one fight, because I was in the Air Force, but there's another one. I forget, but we'll just say one flight, like we're all a flight together, one fight, all coming towards the same mission. That's a kind of win-win mentality, right? Yin and yang, not us versus each other, us versus them mentality that you need to bring to the relationship. And this creates, so as we read here, we want to not only feel part of the group, which is that loving and belonging, that sense of connection, but we want to be admired and respected. And I know for a flying fact, this stuff is not, both of these have not been there. She's been rejected and alienated. She has not been admired and respected. Just like these men go out and crush it, they want to feel admired and respected as well. But if you don't feel, if you're not filling up your own cup and you don't have proper self-admiration and you don't respect yourself, how can you ask other people to do that for you? And because they're the leader of their relationship, they need to have that wherewithal, that situational awareness of my wife wants to come here and be respected. Because she not only wants to feel part of the group, but she wants to feel a contributing member. Humans love to have that altruism to help the group. Yes, we have our selfish desires, but it's kind of like when the plane is going down. You need to put on your own mask first. This program is about saving themselves so that they can save the relationship. Because as things go, if you ask a marriage counselor to do it for you, resentment is going to be created because you guys are relying on someone else. It's not coming within yourself. You're depowering yourself. Okay. So when situations come up, she pushes back, she resists, she fights, she shit tests. If you don't have this esteem, you don't have all of this base foundation and been practicing, it's just going to crumble. And then your wife is like, I've seen it all before. It's done. It's over. Right. This goes back to the difference between believing and knowing. And then once we create that, the big kahuna, where this is going to show her no matter what, even if you guys get together, even if you don't, it's going to show her that this is genuine change for you, right? Mask on the plane down for you so you can help others. Well, get this. Finally, our core needs are met. So these are core needs, right? All of these. Or people think like, oh, we could just do this. No. Every human wants this met, right? So now when the core needs are met, we're ready to pursue our deepest desire of self-actualization, to become the most, get this, the most complete and authentic version of ourselves. Complete and authentic. We are free to choose, it's all about choice, to align with our values and higher purpose. Okay. And this is all natural and easy. When you do this, when you do this, when you do this, when you do this is all taken care of. And this is why we have, right? We have quick elements along the way, address the situation, so on and so forth, how we have conversations, to where you build up the momentum. And as the momentum keeps going, then it's all about choice. Who you choose to be as a man showing up in this relationship. This is why we're so effective. This isn't oh, quick fix or whatever. I always hear on Voxer, Noah, you were right the whole time. I just had to trust the process. Because this is deep. This is needs. And this is your needs as a man. But because our women are a reflection of us, this also fulfills her needs as well. Because when you become a self-actualized man, she becomes a self-actualized woman. But to get there, you have to figure it out. And the core bleeding is somewhere in here. And all these steps just have to be rebuilt. It was easy before. It's just life, frustration, everything kind of makes it a little bit more difficult. But that's what we're here to provide and empower these men, because they do this at work, in their businesses. They do this in life. But now it's time to go through our emotional translation, our emotional decoder, and bring this to the relationship. That's what we're here for, right? That's why I was telling you guys in the beginning, they have all the power. They have all the power. They just have to know, not believe, right? And that's what we're here to do. So that was a quick overview. Obviously, I can get more in depth into each step in our little, our intricacies, but you guys have access to the members area.